if it will be, for example, cancer of lungs, yes, we know that cancer spread along the vessels. That's why during the operation we must ligate first of all
The
vessels,
vessels.
and only then bronchs. That's why we put patient on the back and cut and operative approach will be anterolateral, yes, because first of all we must ligate vein and artery, and if it was bronchitis with a pus, yes, and we must know that this process spread along the bronchs, and when we will perform an operation, we must remember that first of all we will ligate bronch, because if we ligate arteries or veins and in bronchs, passing bronchs spread along all another bronchs. Yes, so that left and right has the same position. Vein, artery and bronchus. Yes, vein, artery and bronchus. And you can see that near the right radix, vena azygus,
Vena azygus, hemiazygus. Hemiazygus.
Is a ridge, yes, and arch. Arch, and left it's
aortic arch and descending aorta.
Left radix. So let's begin the main material. Yes, about the division of the lungs.
Bronchus, artery, vein, and artery, bronchus, vein.
Many years ago, we can say that there are 3 lobes in the right and 2 lobes
in the left.
Because according to the nudge, we divide. But now we know that internal structure of lungs the same in right and in the left, yes, and we know that the general bronchs, it's a bronch of first order. Then it enters the lungs and divides 4 parts, yes. These 4 parts are situated in the lungs tissues, yes, and these 4 parts means 4 zones. We may say that the zone equal lobes. Left lungs and right lungs has 4 zones, and every zonal bronch divides and form a 10 segment in left lung and in right lung. 10. Yes. So every segment is the main place when the pathological process is located. Yes, so that's why we more often we will amputation sector, a segment, not zone, not all lungs, but segment. And this segment is a bronch of the 3rd order with artery of the 3rd order and with veins. Yes, artery we can see in the center of. In my lecture, you will see in the center we can see artery, bronch, and 2 veins. One veins are in the center, and another along the external surface of the segments. So it's a lungs. And now we must discuss such problem as mediastinum. Mediastinum. Who can tell me, what does it mean mediastinum?
It's a space. It's the space which carries the arteries, veins,
It's
and
not a space.
it is between the lungs.
I agree with you. It is between the
It
lungs,
ca-
but
it
what
is
is
not.
it?
It is not a proper space. It carries.
Double layered structure that separate the lungs and heart.
It is complexes of organs, vessels,
Vessels and
nerves, which is situated between two
lobes of the lungs.
No, not lungs, but pleural sac.
Pleural sac.
Pleural sac. Yes, laterally
And-
it's a pleural sac. Pleural sac. And inferiorly it is diaphragm.
Diaphragmatic.
And superiorly it transit, mediastinum transit into
To
the
the neck.
organs of the neck.
Root of the neck.
Of the neck. So you may read that we divide mediastinum
It four parts.
into anterior
And
and
posterior.
Posterior.
But
Superior, inferior.
it was many years ago because it's imaginary
Plane.
which passes through the radix
Radix
of
of
lungs and anterior mediastinum and posterior. Now we perform operation on the lungs, we perform operation on the vessels, on the heart, and so on and so on. That's why we need to border a small location, a small parts of mediastinum. Only such part in which we will perform an operation, maybe. That's why now you may read that all mediastinum we divide into superior and inferior. Superior will be from
The
the
neck
beginning
of the neck.
on the neck, yes, to the second
ribs.
the thoracic
Rib.
vertebra. Yes,
Okay, sir.
all organs and vessels upper than second vertebra. We
Not considered in the
for us, it's a superior mediastinum. It is the lower part of trachea, esophagus. It's a arch, aortic arch, truncus brachiocephalicus, common carotid artery, its beginning, and common subclavian artery. And it is the angle, Pirogov's angle, and is the brachiocephalic vein, and this brachiocephalic vein, and the beginning of the cava superior vein, yes, and lower part of trachea, and its division into the bronchs. So it's a superior mediastinum. And all other elements, it's an inferior mediastinum. But in the inferior mediastinum, we know at anterior mediastinum, between the sternum and pericardium. Then heart with pericardium and large vessels. And posteriorly from pericardium up to vertebra. Yes, up to vertebra.
Pericardium.
It's a posterior. So let's discuss inferior mediastinum because the most important organs such as pericard, heart, and so on, we can see in the posterior mediastinum. Also about pericardium. What can you tell me about pericardium?
Covering of the.
It is a serous layer covering the
Right, into the sac. Yes?
It covers the
At
heart.
serous covering
the
of heart.
serous sac, which includes heart and beginning or terminal part of large vessels. Yes. So this sac has various поверхности, да? Anterior surface, inferior surface, to diaphragm, inferior surface, mediastinal surface, left and right, and posterior surface, posterior part of pericardium. So it's not a cut, it's a pericardium. And pericardium has not only surfaces, but it has port. A port where various elements enter pericardium and to the heart and exit from the pericardium. So as for enter, it is a port for vena cava superior. Here it is, vena cava superior, and vena cava inferior. Here it is, yes. And exit ports. Exit ports. It's aorta. It's a standing part. Truncus, pulmonary trunk. Yes, pulmonary trunk. So there are large ports. Yes, there are large ports. And in pericardium, we can see such important places as sinuses, there are two sinuses, and recesses. As for sinuses, the most important sinuses is the transversal sinuses. You must know that if we put our finger, anteriorly will be ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk. Yes, and pulmonary trunk. Oh, my palates. And posteriorly will be the vena cava superior. Posterior vena cava superior. These sciences is very important for performing an operation on the large vessels of the heart, such as superior cava vein, then ascending aorta, aortic arch, and truncus pulmonary trunk, and pulmonary arteries, and so on and so on. Yes, and especially duct, Batalov's duct. We may perform any operation. It's a transversal science. And next sciences, oblique, you are right, oblique sciences. Let's see, between the posterior surface of heart and behind posterior surface of heart, pericardium and posterior surface of heart. You see, this is oblique sciences. Inferiorly and right will be inferior cava vein. Here it is, yes?
Inferior?
Inferior cava vein. And superiorly and left will be left vein,
pulmonary vein.
So, what is this science? During the pericarditis, for example,
infection,
their pus, maybe liquor, stay in these sciences, thus spread to these sciences. Not first of all, but after the long time when the patient has this pericarditis, the pus and liquor can spread into the oblique sciences. And then we can see reflexes of the pericardium. So in the pericardium we can see 4 reflexes, yes? One of them is truth reflexes and 3 is false reflexes. What about true reflexes? It's really when pericardium passes downwards from upwards to the lower side, it reflects, yes, on its inferior surface, it's a reflex from anterior surface to inferior surface. So Here it is. Yes. And it's a real reflex, true reflex, antero-inferior reflex. Yes. And in this reflex, first of all, appears pus and liquor during the pericardium.
Pericardium.
Yes? During the pericardium, and only after these elements spread into the oblique. Yeah? This part of pericardium is without pleural, and that's why extrapleural part of pericardium. It's very important moment, because when we want to сейчас я скажу пункцию, да? Да, the pericardium, we must perform it in this place when we haven't a pleural, yes, because we may injure pleural and pleuritis. So, and это называется тригоном of the безопасности. Безопасности. Так. Then three reflexes false. Why false? Because these are the reflexes of pericardium from its parietal part into its visceral part, especially on the large vessels. You see on aorta, you see is antero-inferior reflexes and posterior aorta. Oh, you see, it's inferior. Excuse me, antero-superior and posterior-superior. And here on the inferior cava vein, it's posterior inferior. Posterior inferior. Two posterior anterior, superior and inferior. And two posterior
superior and inferior.
So there are a lot of nerves, yes, which supply pericardium. For example, it's a vagus nerve, sympathetic trunk, it's a phrenic nerve, it's a recurrence nerve, and intercostal nerves. All these nerves supplies pericardium. And as for arteries, for pericardium, intercostal arteries, yes, and one of the branch of arteria thoracica interna, arteria pericardiaca phrenica. This artery arrives at the level of first rib, yes. It's not a large artery, not a large artery, but it supplies pericardium, and sometimes
Diaphragm.
it support a heart. Yes, support a heart. So it's a pericardium. Yes.